All right, we're live. We're back. Well,
Excellent.
some of us, anyway.
Yeah, hi, folks.
It's just Captain Nick and I.
I don't suppose there's anyone there, is there?
Yeah, they're.
Are we doing this incognito, Jeff, or does anyone know we're online?
Oh, wait a minute. It says 0 viewers, but they're in the chat room. I did send out a tweet.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, see? You hear that? Hang on. I forgot to close that window. All right. Let me get to the chat room. And let's see, there's Liz, Steph, and Nev, Mike Kuipers. Hey, everybody. Excellent. I'm getting that little bit of I can hear my voice echoing a little bit again. Yeah. I think wow.
Hi, guys.
Oh, well, I'll ignore it.
Have you left the tab with the video online, the live feed open somewhere?
No. That would be really obvious. You would hear it.
Okay.
Like, well,
I wouldn't. You would, though.
No, here. Oh, that's true. You wouldn't hear it because
coming through your earphones.
Well, no. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm.
We got Glenn, saying. Chris, Liz, Nev, Captain Nolaki. That is a great name. Oh, Steph was there. She's still there.
Yeah, she's about to board for her next flight.
Steph's never boring.
She's always.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay.
What? You hear an echo?
Nope. Nope.
Okay, I bet you will hear in a minute.
Nope.
Stop it. There's a lag.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, I bet you will hear in a minute.
Nope. Oh, yes.
Stop it.
I hear myself going, nope.
Where's
that coming from? Nope. Nope.
Okay, I bet you will hear in a minute.
Nope. Oh, yes.
Stop it.
I hear myself going, nope.
Have you had enough?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Well demonstrated, sir.
That's what you would hear if I had a window open with the video. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Hey, let me increase my volume a little bit here. Testing 1 2 3. Check 1 2 1 2 3. Okay, and so everybody who oh, very nice. That was not me. That was Nick.
Sorry about that, folks.
Let's see. I guess we should do this for that. I don't know if you have ever seen the game show in America called The Price is Right.
Yeah, the only time I've ever seen it was when they had a blooper of some very large breasted lady who came running down from the audience when she was called forward with her arms in the air wearing a boob tube. And she didn't manage to keep herself restrained. And
I see. Okay.
I think that's the only time I see it.
You subscribe to those videos, I see.
No, I saw it by accident, just popped up, you know, like they do.
Okay, so it's Captain Nick and I. Steph, she was in the chat room. She still may be, but she's in between flights, I believe, in Dallas right now. Excuse me. And I am by myself here in Orlando. This time I'm at the normal Rosen property that they put us up in. They didn't walk us this time to that other hotel, which I have to admit was a very nice hotel, but it's just like super premium and all the prices are extremely high, but the rooms were very nice, furniture was nice, etc. Um, anywho, um, Tony Dana had made some plans with a friend of his, pilot for Southwest Airlines, who lives in Cocoa Beach, and so he rented a car from the airport and drove directly from Orlando International over to Cocoa Beach, and I think he's going to spend the afternoon on this guy's boat, cruising the intercoastal waterways and probably drinking and eating and having a great time. So he couldn't join us today. Let's see. And then the whole point of doing this two-parter was to have Miami Rick with us today. And when I got up this morning at what time was it? A little bit before 5 o'clock. I had a text on my phone, which was sent at just shy of 2 o'clock in the morning from Rick, and he said that his schedule had once again changed, and now he's doing something different. So I texted him back, but I guess he was already in the air or something. He didn't ever return my texting or my text, but I asked him, does that mean you're not going to be able to make it today? And apparently that's what that meant. So he is not able to make this part 2 of 244. And I've started editing the audio a bit, and we're already at almost 2.5 hours. So what we're going to do today, Captain Nick and I, are 1 or 2 pieces of feedback, plain tales, and then wrap it up. And we'll probably start with plain tales, and then we'll try to knock out 1 or 2 pieces of feedback. We'll wrap it up and then try to get this whole thing just shy of 3 hours. Fingers crossed, as they say. So what do you think,
perfect.
Nick?
I'll talk fast. I can talk fast like the best of them.
Yeah, I know you can. You're a fast talker. We know that. Like a used car salesman.
I'm not too sure about that. Yes, that's a bit of a worry. I can sell an Airbus to anybody. I can even sell an Airbus to Rick, given enough time.
Okay, let me see. I'm trying to recall exactly how we left this thing.
Hanging.
What were we saying?
No, I think just pop a bit of music in. You did, because you did say that we were going to carry on tomorrow. So
yeah,
pop one of the nice bits of jazz in, and then pick
yeah,
it
that's
up.
what I'll do.
Would be fun.
Nice little bumper, and then and we'll go into part 2. So let me make sure again that I'm recording everywhere I'm supposed to be. And then we, after we finish the 30 minutes or so, then we can hang out and communicate with all you in the chat room. And let's see here. And then maybe I'll have time to go get something to eat for dinner because I'm starving. And I'll try to do as much as I can with the audio editing because I like to get these things out on Fridays. But since I'm going to be flying all day tomorrow, I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to get the thing published tomorrow. So it's probably going to come out on Saturday for the real audio podcast that most people listen to.
That sounds all right. I mean,
yeah. Okay. What was I going to do? Oh, turn this recorder on. Okay, there we go. It is on, and now I'm going to go back to this window so I can see the handsome Captain Nick. There we go. And there we go. I have the chat room. All right. So, hey, we're back through the, as they say, the magic of podcasting. We are now a day later, approximately 24 hours later, maybe. Yeah, right at about that, right? What time did we stop doing this last night, Nick?
Well, it would have been about 10:30 local, my time. So we've been missing about 22 hours.
22 hours ago, we last uttered our eloquent aviation verbology. I don't think there's really a word called verbology. It sounds good to me.
Well, there's one called verbiage, and that's pretty apt.
Verbiage, yeah. And so fast forward, we have now lost a few of our guests. Dana, aka Tony, is not with me today because he had some other plans that he had arranged. And Steph is flying, so actually between flights right now. I think we last saw that she was in Dallas, Texas, at Dallas Love Field, and so we're going to miss Stephanie. But Captain Nick and I are going to forge on, and we're going to try to do some more feedback and wrap up the show. So
sounds good, Jeff.
Without further, oh, you know what we need to say though before we move on. Last night was Game 7. We talked about this in the first part of the podcast, or this episode. The Cubs and the Indians were in Game 7 of the World Series. That game was played last night, and Stephanie is a very happy woman. So obviously that means that the Chicago Cubs came back from a 3-game deficit to tie and then finally win 4 out of 7 games in the World Series. So congratulations, Chicago Cubs, for
now, they had a big lead at the beginning of that game, I gather, Jeff, which was eroded in, what, about the 7th inning or something? And then they ended up tied and going into an extra inning. So explain to me how that works.
So, you just can't, it's set for 9 innings, and you can't just end the game on a tie. Somebody has to actually score more runs than the other team. So the way baseball works is that you just keep adding innings to or extra innings to the game. And I don't know what the world record is, but I know that there have been some games that have gone on for hours and hours and hours. And I don't know, in the teens, probably more than that for a world record as far as the number of innings. Because if you keep tying it up, or you don't make any runs and nobody makes any progress, you keep playing until someone finally does win the game. And I went to bed in the right around the bottom of the 7th, before the 7th inning stretch, which is the time that they take out between the bottom and the top of the inning in the 7th inning. And you're right, the Cubs were in the lead, and but I knew that the way that these teams were playing, that wasn't going to be necessarily something that was going to hold for the rest of the game. But I knew that I had to get some sleep. So when I woke up this morning, that was really one of the first things that I did after I saw the texts from Miami Rick. This is so confusing. So, I looked to see who won the World Series game, and I saw that the Chicago Cubs won and broke their 108-year, I think it was 108 years ago.
Dry spell?
Dry spell that they won the World Series. So, very good game, I guess. I watched some of the highlights this morning as I was getting dressed, ready to go for pickup this morning. So, anyway, taking up time that I don't need.
Steph was pacing. Oh, yeah, of course. I'm sorry. I was going to say Steph was pacing around her apartment on the last inning. She couldn't actually watch the television, and she stayed up, watched the bitter end, and then presumably had a quick congratulatory drink, and then 4.5 hours sleep, and she's back to work.
Wow.
Oh, poor love.
Yeah, she is operating on very little sleep. But as I'm sure she'll agree, definitely well worth it. So that's a great.
Well done, Cubs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, without further ado, I think now it is time for arguably the best part of the Airline Pilot Guy show, Plane Tales.
The Old Pilot's Plane Tales. Flight in a bird dog.
In 1975, as the North Vietnamese began their final attack on Saigon, The rapidity with which the defending positions collapsed was surprising to most American and South Vietnamese observers, and probably to the North Vietnamese and their allies as well. The CIA's belief that the South could hold out for at least the next year proved to be disastrously wrong. President Ford's administration had started planning for a quick and complete evacuation of the American presence, which involved moving all but 1,250 Americans, the number that could be removed in a single day's helicopter airlift. The escape for those South Vietnamese that wanted to leave was far from easy, with American visas being a major stumbling block. Operation Frequent Wind was the code name for the evacuation, and in the final days, more than 7,000 American personnel and those Vietnamese considered at risk were taken by helicopter from various points in Saigon. Hueys began to clog the decks of the American carriers, and eventually many were pushed overboard to make way for others to land. Some pilots were told to drop off their passengers and then ditch at sea. In the city of Saigon, when approved landing sites were overrun, makeshift arrangements were hastily made, such as the elevator motor housing on top of the Pittman building, which was famously photographed with a Huey precariously perched on top as refugees scrambled up, desperate to claim their last chance of freedom. The number of Vietnamese which ended up entering the USA as refugees totaled over 138,000. The fall of Saigon was without doubt a low point in American history, but with it came moments of bravery, skill, desperation, and compassion. One such moment is the story of Major Bung Lee of the Vietnamese Air Force and Captain Larry Chambers of the United States Navy. Those Vietnamese who fought with the Americans faced awful reprisals, and it was known that anyone who had aided the US was being hunted down and mercilessly slaughtered. Many were dragged from their houses, shot, and left to rot in the streets. Major Bung Lee and his family were one of those at risk. In the final desperate hours, unable to arrange the evacuation of his family, Major Lee took a terrible risk. Grabbing one of the tiny two-seat Cessna 01 aircraft, normally used for reconnaissance and artillery spotting, he called his wife and 5 children together. Getting his entire family into the little machine, which was basically a modified Cessna 150 and nicknamed the Bird Dog, was a struggle, but he managed it. The craft was overweight, so he couldn't take full fuel, and it was going to be hard to get it airborne. He fired up the Continental 6-piston engine, which flat out only gave around 200 horsepower, and lined up on the runway at Con Son Island. The Bird Dog gave of its best and got them safely into the air, but soon they were trying to dodge enemy fire while striving to get out over the ocean. Major Lee had no idea where the American fleet was and no real plan of how to save his family. He just knew that it was better to try something than to remain where he was. Heading out over open water, he droned on, looking out for a friendly ship to ditch beside. But an ocean is a vast place, and a ship, even a mighty American aircraft carrier, a small dot. As a husband, a father, and a pilot myself, I wonder at the bravery that kept Major Lee's hands steady on the controls as he flew further and further out to sea with his most treasured possessions beside him, his entire family. The sea ahead must have looked completely empty and the land behind out of sight. He must have felt that he was alone in the sky and that rescue might be impossible. But it was then that he saw a helicopter, also flying out to sea. First one, and then another. They were almost certainly part of the evacuation, and if they were heading out over the ocean, they must be going towards some ships. The Major turned to follow them, trying to catch up in his small machine that could only do 100 knots on a good day. The weather was grim, and he was down to 500 feet above the water and in poor visibility, but at least now he had a vague idea of where to go. In one of those marvelous twists of fate, the Major was about to become a very lucky man, as somewhere ahead of him, aboard the USS Midway, was Captain Larry Chambers. Chambers was the very first African American to command a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier. A naval aviator and fighter pilot, he had flown combat missions over Vietnam, but having been promoted, he had now been given command of the mighty Midway. He had hardly had time to get comfortable in his seat on the bridge when, a mere 5 days later, and with his ship docked in Subic Bay with part of its engineering plant torn apart, he was ordered to prepare for Operation Frequent Wind. Only days later, he was steaming to aid in the evacuation, which he started without orders when the Vice President of Vietnam landed on his deck. Chambers saw who climbed out of the helicopter and figured that the operation was starting whether he had received orders or not. The evacuation was coming to a close when a bridge crewman first noticed a speck in the distance over the South China Sea. It looked different to the incoming helicopters, and as it approached, it became evident that it was a small aircraft, an O-1 Bird Dog. What the hell was that doing way out here? Slowly but surely, the aircraft approached, and Chambers tried to figure out if it might somehow mean to harm them. It was refusing to answer their calls, but unbeknown to them, the aircraft that Major Lee had commandeered didn't have a serviceable radio. Chambers edged forward in his chair, but the O-1 put its landing lights on and then began to turn into a rudimentary landing pattern. The deck of the Midway was crowded with the evacuation helicopters. There was nowhere for a landing, but after a couple of passes overhead, something fell out of the Cessna and clunked onto the deck. It was a pistol. In the Bird Dog, Major Lee had been trying to work out how to get in touch with the Americans. He knew he could ditch beside the aircraft carrier, but having had to cram his family into the tiny space, he knew that a ditching might drown them all. He had never even seen an aircraft carrier before, but now he was close to it. He thought he might be able to land on the deck, if only they could make him some space. Taking a paper map, he scribbled a note and threw it out of the window. It blew away in the wind off the deck, so the Major tried again. This note met the same fate. Now it was third time lucky. Lee wrapped his final note around his personal firearm, tossing it out of the window as he flew by. On the bridge, Captain Chambers could clearly see that the tiny craft held a whole family, and he immediately understood the desperation that the pilot must have felt to have brought his loved ones into this situation. The note that Bung Lee had written was brought to him, and as he read it, being a pilot himself, he knew what the Major faced, and he quickly resolved to do what he could. Can you move the helicopter to the other side? I can land on your runway. I can fly 1 hour more. We have enough time to move, Lee had written. Please rescue me, Major Bung, wife and 5 child. Chambers called an impromptu meeting with the Midway's air boss and the CO of the task force, Admiral Harris. Between them, they realized the likelihood of disaster should the O-1 ditch and agreed that their best chance was to let Bung attempt to land on the carrier. However, to prepare the deck before the Bird Dog ran out of fuel was going to be hard work, and Chambers knew that his decision might well put him before a court-martial. Putting aside his concerns, Chambers put his crew into high gear, and orders started to flash around the whole fleet. They had been idling along, hardly making headway during the helicopter operations, but to get some wind over the deck, they were going to have to increase speed dramatically. Part of the Midway's power plant had been shut down for maintenance, but now the chief engineer was being asked for 25 knots. This wouldn't be available right away, so the engineers shifted the hotel load, the electricity used for every other purpose other than propulsion, to the emergency diesel generators. On the deck, although frequent wind was coming to a close, helicopters were still flying to the ship. All available hands, regardless of rank, were ordered to the flight deck to assist in moving the parked aircraft. Any helicopter that couldn't be moved in a safe and timely manner was to be pushed over the side of the deck. An estimated $10 million worth of the UH-1H helicopters were quickly stripped and then jettisoned into the sea. While this mad dash was going on, 5 more Hueys landed, and once their passengers had been safely hustled clear, these aircraft met the same fate. Meanwhile, the arresting gear, strung across the deck, was also removed, lest the cables foul the O-1's gear on landing. At last, Chambers felt confident to give Major Lee a green light. The crew all knew what was about to happen, and every vantage point was filled with nervous watchers. Until that day, Major Lee hadn't even seen an aircraft carrier, let alone tried to land on one. Nobody on board could tell him of the dangerous downdrafts that always followed a moving carrier, although they had transmitted blind both in English and Vietnamese just in case the O-1's radio could receive. The Major carefully lined his aircraft up on the angled deck, naturally accommodating the induced crosswind that his approach gave him. Nobody had ever tried this feat before, and certainly not in such desperate conditions. The little aircraft approached quite slowly, close to the stalling speed, and they could all see that it was being buffeted by the turbulence the ship created. Avoiding the deadly effects of the fantail, in a stroke of masterful flying, the Major touched down as if he had done it 1,000 times. Right on the center line, in line with the 3-wire, the perfect spot. The plane bounced once, and then the crew rushed forwards to grab the wingtips and drag it to a stop. The men of the midway whooped wildly as they rushed up to the aircraft. Major Bung Lee and his wife were embraced and welcomed aboard as strong American hands carried their children to safety. Captain Chambers ordered the bird dog to be secured on deck. He rightly felt that this tiny craft that had brought 7 friends of America safely to the Midway deserved saving. Indeed, it can still be seen at the Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola. The Major was told that the captain wanted to see him. He anxiously remembered watching so many expensive helicopters being thrown into the sea and wondered what faced him. However, Chambers greeted Bung Lee warmly and congratulated him on his bravery and a magnificent piece of flying. The Major was still shaking, but so glad that his gamble had paid off, and he was overwhelmed by the generosity of the crew, especially when they raised funds to help his family start their new life in the United States. And what of Captain Chambers? His actions could well have landed him in considerable trouble and, at the very least, put an end to his career. However, he went on to become the first African-American graduate from the Naval Academy to also reach flag rank. During his long and distinguished career, he served as the commander of Carrier Strike Group 3 and later Group 4, before finishing his time as Vice Commander of the Naval Air Systems Command. After retiring as a Rear Admiral, he spoke of Major Bung Lee, saying, "He was the bravest man I have ever met in my life," and said of his decision to allow Lee to land that day, "When a man has the courage to put his family in a plane and make a daring escape like that, you have to have the heart to let him in."
Another beautiful installment or episode of Plane Tales, and that is an amazing story. I was just gripped by that.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it was mentioned to me by one of my first officers who had been to the museum and seen the aircraft and read about the story. He first saw or read about it in Vietnam, I believe, and he chased it up when he was on a trip in America. But I think it's a fantastic joining of two remarkable people. First of all, obviously, Major Bung Lee, who took that awful risk, but also Larry Chambers. What a remarkable man, and what a man of action. Heaven's sake, he was in his dream command, in charge of one of the finest ships in the US Navy. And having only been in command of it a few weeks, he took, pardon me, the risk of possibly losing his command by making that decision to let him land. I think he was a very brave man, very great decision. So, marvelous story.
Yeah, I hope to, it was a long time ago before I entered, even before I went to college, that I was at the Pensacola museum, Air Museum or whatever they call it. And I don't really remember too much about that because it was so long ago. But I need to go back there again because it's one of the best aviation museums out there. And I look forward to seeing that bird dog they have in their museum.
Excellent.
All right. Well, let's move on to tackle some more feedback. And this one, I'm happy to say, is one that I believe Captain Nick will be able to help with. Do you want to read this one, Captain Nick, the animal quarantine?
Oh, yeah. This is from, let me see.
Patrick.
Patrick Hosford. Hi, Patrick. He's written it's a message for Captain Nick. Enjoyed your response to the folks with the excellent question about flying with dogs in APG 243, only the last show. One thing I had wondered about, though, does the UK still have tight quarantine requirements for dogs over rabies concerns? The questioners mentioned that one of their potential entry points to Europe would be Heathrow, which some of us call Heathrow, but which I think could be a poor choice versus a point of entry in mainland Europe, and not so, as you will find out very shortly, if the tight UK restrictions are still in effect. I'm a frequent visitor to the UK and would love to bring my beagles. Well, beagles, they're great. What lovely and comical animals they can be. They're actually got a great heritage as well as being great sniffers. As it's such a dog-friendly country. Yes, it is, generally speaking. If not for the quarantine restrictions, well, you'll find out they're not as bad as they used to be. All the best to the whole crew. I must buy you all a cup of coffee. Well, if it's in the evening, can we try and have beer, please?
Yes, beer.
Yeah.
So
you've got your bell today.
I had it with me yesterday, but I forgot.
It's probably buried under a heap of cables, don't you, Jeff? As I've been really enjoying the show for a while now. Patrick Hosford at YYJ. Help me out there.
YYJ. Well, that's going to be somewhere in Canada?
Canada. Yeah, it's got to be CYYJ. Is that St. John's?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. YYJ.
CYYJ.
While you're answering the question.
Oh, it's Victoria International Airport. Oh, Victoria. Is that on Victoria Island? Oh, yeah. Gorgeous. That's just the island just off Vancouver. That's gorgeous place.
Yes,
fabulous. Well, you're a very lucky man to be living there. Okay. So let's have a look at the UK government website. Now, Jeff's going to put this link that I am just pulling up here on the show notes. But it basically refers to bringing your pet dog, cat, or ferret, if you happen to have a ferret. Apparently, they're the only categories of animal this particular page refers to. I don't know how many people bring ferrets to the UK. I know we're particularly up north, there are a lot of ferret owners, but not so much down south.
I think that would be ferret to say.
Yeah. Very good. So you can enter the return to the UK if your cat, dog, or ferret has been microchipped, has a pet passport or third country official veterinary certificate, has been vaccinated against rabies. It will also need a blood test if you're traveling from an unlisted country. I believe the USA is a, quote, unlisted country. Dogs must also usually have had tapeworm treatment. So if you obey all those requirements, and you can go into detail and find out exactly what is required on the website, then it shouldn't be a problem. If you fail to tick all those boxes, then your pet may be put into quarantine for up to 4 months, or refused entry if you travel by sea, and you're responsible for the fees and charges. So there are a whole bunch of restrictions. They're the basic ones, and the answer is modern days with full documentation, all the right health stuff, and having been microchipped and registered, then you can bring your pet in without concern, and it won't even be held up at the airport. It'll just have its paperwork checked, and then you can bring it in and have a wonderful holiday with it or whatever.
So so the bottom line is that it's not as restrictive as it used to be?
Certainly not. No, there used to be no way around, and it used to be 6 months quarantine.
Oh my!
But now the introduction of pet passports and inoculations against rabies and the like, there's no problem. You can, as long as you've got all that documentation and have had obviously the correct injections and the correct checks done on your pet, you can just bring it in and take it out again. It's no problem.
Very, very good. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that one, Captain Nick. I'm sure that...
You're welcome.
Let's see. Who was it again we were saying? Patrick Hosford at the YYJ appreciates it. In the chat room, I was looking at some of the conversation, and they were Will was talking about the my calendar as far as my flying schedule, etc., is not showing up on his iPhone. And I think if you're using the Safari browser in iOS, for some reason, yeah, it doesn't show up there. But if you're using Chrome or any of the other mobile browsers, it does. But I'm also experimenting with this thing. Speaking of that, I'm going off tangent a little bit, but I'm experimenting with a live tracking app that I try to use to show you where I am when I'm on a trip. And you can see the tracks, you know, from the different flights that I'm flying on my trips. And that's on the website at airlinepilotguy.com/find-me, I think. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But it's just on the main page of the app. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, click the little button that says Find Me, and then you'll be taken to the page that has the Google Calendar with my trips on it, and also the that live tracking thing that I'm playing around with. So, and also the Where's Captain Jeff Twitter feed. I try to remember every time I go somewhere to kind of hit the Swarm button on the Swarm app, which uploads to that Where's Captain Jeff Twitter feed. So, anywho. Getting back to the Airline Pilot Guy show, episode 244, part 2. Let's talk about this. Jeff in Minneapolis sent just an adorable picture. He says, future Acme pilots. Looks like on the sofa of his home, and looks like his son and 2 twins. Looks like they're all boys, but I'm not sure, but I think they are. And you'll just have to see this wonderful photo that he took of his kids in their Halloween costumes. But it's an aviation themed costume that they're in.
It is great, isn't it?
So we'll put that in the show notes. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing that. And let's see, what else was I going to do? Oh, Charath in Africa sent a link to a Flying Magazine article talking about, I guess, the U.S. Air Force, and, well, I guess not just the Air Force, but no, maybe it is the Air Force only. they're putting out bids to, I guess, replace the T-38 jet trainer, and Boeing and Saab are competing for this. And this particular article has a picture of what Boeing is putting in place for their bid for the new generation trainer. They call it the T-X, and it's a sleek single-engine jet, not a dual engine, competing for the multi-billion-dollar Air Force contract. And they have teamed up with, oh, okay, I see. Boeing has teamed up with with Swedish Saab.
With a swab?
I put the two together. It's just easier that way. Swedish
much easier.
Saab, designer of the Gripen multi-mission fighter jet, to produce a military jet trainer designed to compete for the U.S. Air Force T-X contract. The contract is expected to include an order for at least 350 jets worth billions of dollars to replace more than 400 existing T-38 trainers. Yeah, that's what they're replacing. A stunning production T-X was revealed to the public this week in St. Louis, Missouri. Boeing has already produced 2 T-X airplanes. So anyway, you want to see a picture of this thing. It's really, really pretty impressive looking. Front and back.
Yeah, I have to agree, Jeff. For a Boeing, it looks pretty brilliant. I mean, no, seriously. I'm trying to be complimentary here. Doing my best anyway.
Okay, well,
Dixon, that's right.
Sorry.
It's got a really nice looking cockpit area. Right, the instructor get a good view from there. Very sharp looking nose. 2 fins. In fact, the back end looks vaguely like a mini F-18 stroke Eagle. The back end. Yeah. I can't see the shape of the wing, but it looks like just close to a delta, but I suspect the trailing edge is angled forward, so it's probably just a swept wing. Single engine. You've got a GE F404 engine I'm not familiar with it, but I'm sure it'll probably be quite highly powered. And the fact that it's fly-by-wire, that's interesting because, they can obviously adapt the flight control and the aircraft behavior to perhaps match even what a future aircraft a student might be going on to, and they can make it easy or hard or however they want to fly. So that's kind of cool. I think that's a brilliant looking airplane. The only thing I have against it is that the undercarriage, I see, retracts into the fuselage. So that's got a pretty narrow wheelbase, and having flown aircraft of that style, the F-18 and the NAT, the NAT was a trainer, quite difficult for a student to keep an aircraft that has a narrow wheelbase under control when he's struggling to do those first few landings. So I'm not quite sure whether that'll be a drawback or not. What do you reckon?
Good point. I've never flown an airplane with landing gear that comes up into the fuselage with that kind of a narrow wheelbase, or wheel track, or whatever you call it. I would imagine that that could be a downside to this kind of design.
Yeah, I found that when you're inexperienced, you tend to make the airplane waddle from side to side because there's just too much give in the gear to make it nice and hard and stable when you land it. Hawk was much easier than that from that point of view. But
certainly does look like they took some cues from the McDonnell Douglas F-18.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wonder if there's any similar components. No, it's a great looking airplane.
Yeah. Interesting. I guess having just one engine is not a bad thing. 19,000 pounds of thrust, I think that it's designed to produce. That's a lot of thrust. I can't imagine that airplane, looking at it, doesn't look like it would weigh that much. So it seems like it would be a pretty high performance airplane. But with only one engine, I don't know. Maybe engine reliability now is so great that you don't have to worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, or you hope they're cheap enough for you to be able to throw a few away if you have a bird strike or something and not worry too much about it.
Definitely will have ejection seats.
Oh, for sure. We used to practice some pretty interesting forced landing procedures in the Hawk because we obviously only have one engine. The students basically, unless they were quite experienced, we expected them to just eject. But the instructors used to come in on what we used to call a one-in-one profile, developed initially for the hunter. So it was quite a clever idea. The local control, the radar controller with the radar on the base would just point you straight at the overhead and give you a countdown in range. And when your height and thousands of feet matched your distance out, you'd stick the nose down and begin to just fly a gliding profile. Now this is because engine out, you're just gliding, so that you counted down as you passed 8,000 feet, you're at 8 miles, 7,000 feet, 7 miles, and you just aim to arrive at the overhead of the airfield. As soon as you broke cloud, then you usually had about 300 knots. When you establish yourself in this profile, you'd then be able to use that 300 knots to circle the airfield until you positioned yourself on an appropriate runway to land, and then just complete your forced landing and plonk it on the ground. It was actually quite a great way to get the airplane on the ground when it was bad weather.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, it's time for us to end the episode. Not sure if we kept it within 3 hours or not. We're certainly striving to.
Well, you can always cut some of my verbiage out at the end.
No, I don't want to do that. Everybody's hanging on every word, I'm sure. But before we do go and cut this thing off completely, I would like to express my thanks to Tony, Dana, his real name, for joining us on the first part of the episode yesterday. That was a blast from the past. He was on episode 90, the first Airline Pilot Guy co-host. And Tony, let's not wait for another 154 episodes before you appear with us again, okay?
Absolutely.
So, anyway, that was a lot of fun. Again, T-shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs are available for sale at the airlinepilotguy.com store. That's airlinepilotguy.com/store, which takes you to the Teespring site. And also don't forget that we have now taken control of the Airline Pilot Guy app on iOS and Google Play. The Google Play, the latest version, is out there and ready for you to download. No ads. And it's absolutely free. It's a great way for you to keep track of and listen to and take part in the APG community. Again, that's Airline
Did you say it was absolutely free, Jeff?
It is absolutely free and ad-free.
No, absolutely free.
Advertising.
Absolutely free and absolutely free.
Exact. Both of those things. And and I'm waiting for the latest version to be approved by the folks over at Apple so that I can make some further improvements that are just waiting for that approval. And so I'm excited about that. So that should do it. Remember that we are on Twitter at the APG Crew, and we also have individual IDs on Twitter. Captain Nick is Old Pilot, and let's see, Steph is, of course, what else would she be but at Plum Diggity? That's PLUMDIGGITY. I believe that's the way that's spelled. And I'm just plain old Airline Pilot Guy on Twitter. And then Miami Rick is Miami_Rick. And we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/ you guessed it, Airline Pilot Guy. And don't forget to check out our site, which works great on your mobile devices, by the way, and our app on the App Store. We've already talked about that. So looking forward to our next episode number 245, sometime next week. Anything else to say before we finally end this thing, Captain Nick?
I don't think so, Jeff. I'm just going to start to delve into some ideas for the next Plain Tales. I want to thank everybody who, through the various contacts, offers me suggestions. Not all of them I will either have time or are quite suitable for my style of storytelling, but I thank you very much indeed for going to the effort of getting in touch. It is much appreciated. And yes. I look forward to getting yet more ideas.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that everybody looks forward to hearing and on every episode. I know I do. And so thank you, everyone, for those suggestions for Captain Nick, and also all of your great feedback, which we try to address each and every piece, but sometimes we can't just get to it because just of the sheer volume. But don't let that keep you from sending it in to Airline Pilot Guy. Excuse me, feedback at airlinepilotguy.com. And until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
Yay. Okay. So that's the show.
Well done, Joe.
That's going to be over 3 hours, but that's okay. You know, that's not the first time. So
there you go.
So everybody in the chat room, hope you enjoyed hanging with us again. Yeah, I'm sorry for those of you who have just recently joined us. Rick is not with us. His schedule seems to be a very dynamic thing, and that's why. That's probably another reason why we use this piece of intro music for Rick, because not only is he a weightlifter and, you know, that dynamic tension thing, but his schedule is dynamic. I was hoping to be able to play that for him.
Yeah, what a shame. I mean, I don't know quite how he managed to. I thought he was going up to Anchorage to do a flight, and he must have had a schedule change that took him out earlier than expected or something. But
yeah, let me tell you,
we'll probably find out in a day or two.
He was supposed to be in Anchorage, and today was going to work out perfectly for him. And then let's see. Well, I guess it's not there for some reason. But on my he says, as anticipated, pattern change. Zhengshu tomorrow. Did I pronounce that right? ZHENG ZHOU. Zhengshu tomorrow.
That sounds as good a guess as any.
Yeah, out of LAX, landed here an hour ago. So,
he didn't go to Anchorage.
Apparently not. Yeah. So,
wow,
Rick, if you're watching the video, which I doubt that he will, but just in case, we missed you. Everybody missed you. We were hoping to hear some of your great feedback answers, but oh well. We'll just have to wait until the next time that you're available. All right.
I found the message. I would have said Zhengzhou, but Zhengzhou sounds just as good.
Zhengzhou? Zhengzhou. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Can't speak Chinese.
Yeah. Neither can I.
Let's see.
Lai Liang Baby Joe, Wopeng Yoke Chen.
Pardon me?
Jing Lai Liang Baby Joe, Wopeng Yoke Chen.
Okay.
That's the only Chinese I know.
What does that mean?
Well, it's the same as Zwei Bier bitte, mein Freund bezahlen. Or deux bières, s'il vous plaît, mon ami, votre pays. Or dos cervezas, por favor, mi amigo tiene el dinero.
You speak so many languages.
What should I
ask a beer? Yeah, I got it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's the only way to get your first officer to pay sometimes.
Oh, that never happens. Fabian says, did you guys see the video of his landing at LAX? No, I didn't. Where would that be? Would that be on his Twitter feed? Huh. Okay. By the way.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it wasn't a bad effort.
Who was videoing it? Was it inside the cockpit or was it from an external position?
I'm guessing the third pilot.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
Well, I wish I had cameras going for my landings today. My landing at JFK and back here in Orlando were greasers, so not as nice.
Really?
Much nicer than my landing yesterday at LaGuardia. It was not the best in the world. But
but at least you stayed on the runway, Jeff, which is more than that Boeing pilot did.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Speedbird HD filmed it. Oh, okay. So it was an external camera. Okay. Let's see. Would we find that, Glenn, on Speedbird HD on YouTube? Let me take a look-see. This is interesting. Speedbird HD.
I'll take the mushy pork and an egg roll, please. Very good, Mike. Yeah,
that sounds good.
actually, my Chinese is normally limited to 1 number 45, 2 number 37, and 1 115, please.
You got to say that in Chinese, though, the numbers.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I'm on the Speedbird HD YouTube channel. So what am I looking for, guys? Would he already have that? The last thing I see is 3 weeks ago.
Oh, he might have only just posted it.
Okay, let me go to the chat room, see what I'm missing. Okay, twitter.com. Okay. Oh, will it not let you put the actual URL in there? Okay.
Yeah.
Copy.
I don't quite know why this YouTube doesn't like you posting links. I suppose it's to stop spammers. It's just a bit annoying when you want to do something legit.
I thought they allowed it now. Have you tried it without? Maybe that's some kind of a setting that I can adjust in the.
I know Dan's just had to post one with a couple of odd spaces.
Twitter.com. Oh, did I put too many spaces in here? Twitter.com/Miami Rick status. I'm not coming up with anything. Try that again.
Ethnain Biarajan, Sadiki Sofa Yetfa. That was the first one I learned. And one of my Arabic students, when I was at QFI Valley, taught me that one. And I thought, hang on a minute, you're Arabic and a Muslim. How come you're teaching me how to buy beer in Arabic?
Wait a minute, that's a disconnect.
Yeah. Next, Plain Tales. I think this one is looking favorite. Victor Belenko. A fascinating footnote from the Cold War. That might be a good one. He defected in a MiG-25 in the middle of the Cold War, which was a very interesting airplane to defect in at the time, since nobody knew much about it. But there's some wacky story to do with that, because it didn't look like a genuine or a normal defection. Not that I guess there are not really a norm when it comes to defecting, but anyway, that looks like an interesting one.
Here's the video. I don't know if there's audio with this or not.
It's probably Rick swearing.
Polar Air landing.
Sounds more like a crash, Jeff. Now he sounds like a bomb falling out of the sky. Oh, that's him landing with the gear up.
Sorry for all the noise. It's noisy. And there's some kind of a vehicle that's off its right wing as it's taxiing in. Rick, wave to us. Come on. Rick, wave. Rick. I can see him almost. He's there. I know it. That's definitely LAX. All right. Okay, that's enough of that noise. I give it an 8 out of 10, I'd say.
Yeah, the guy didn't drop his camera, so it can't have been too bad.
Just kidding. It was a very nice landing. But, I think that on that airplane, it's probably hard to make a bad landing.
Yeah, with all those squidgy wheels and that soggy undercarriage,
Soggy. Oh, let's see. What is Nev saying here? I'm hoping to do an audio interview with an APG community member next week. Okay. Looking forward to that.
Would it be a lady? A lady, perchance? No, we're just a bit worried about you. What's tomorrow have for you, Jeff?
Tomorrow is back up to John F. Kennedy, back here to Orlando, and then a 33-minute turn time to catch a deadhead flight back to Atlanta. So we're hoping that we're going to be running.
You're not late.
Yeah, we're hoping. Hopefully, we'll run early as we did today. Of course, Murphy's Law. Today we ran 25 minutes early. Tomorrow we'll probably be running 25 minutes late. So that means I won't be arriving, on time. Probably miss the deadhead flight and have to take the next one. But that's okay because I'm going. It looks like during the show here, I was communicating with my youngest, my 19-year-old. She's going to be coming home for the weekend from flying out of Greensboro, and the earliest flight that she can take is like at 5:15. So that gets her into Atlanta around 6:40 something or other. So I told her that I would hang around and wait for her to come home, and then we could ride the train together on the way home. So
excellent. You can do some plane spotting.
Exactly. Or
I hope you get a better Acme see-off.
What?
Excellent. I hope you get a better Acme see-off than the last one I got, where Acme see-off, Acme Red at Atlanta. So when we finished the refuel, I looked in at the trim tank. Now, for those who don't know, we balance the aircraft for a full fuel load. Actually, not even for full fuel load. We balance the aircraft for takeoff by putting in the 330 about 2.5 tons in the tail. And when I looked down at the completion of the refueling, I only had 1.7 tons. So that obviously cocks up the trim. So engineer up the flight deck, can you pump some fuel into the trim tank, please? And this guy immediately went, yeah, there's no problem. Starts reaching up and punching fuel valves and pumps, turning them on and off as appropriate. And I thought to myself, every time I've seen this done before, the guy does it in the McDo, in the maintenance pages down there. So I said, oh, yes, nice to see someone knows exactly what he's doing, thinking if he doesn't, he'll go, well, I'm guessing. But he carried on merrily punching buttons, and I'm watching the fuel levels. Instead of putting fuel in, it's actually draining out. So I say, the fuel's getting a bit lower. It's supposed to be going up. Oh, yeah. It carries on. Anyway, then he starts draining fuel out of my outer tanks, and that really is a pain because you can't pump fuel back into those. They gravity feed out. So I'm going, whoa, stop. You mustn't take the fuel out of the outer tanks. I need that for my, it's a wing bending relief. We have fuel in the outer tanks to stop the wings bending too much during the initial parts of the flight. So I said, look, if you're not actually certain what you're doing, because now you've emptied the trim tank. I did have 1.7 tons in there. Now you've emptied it and you're taking it out, stop. And find someone who knows what they're doing. So he scuttles off, and along comes this bloke who does the correct thing. But it takes, to get 2.4 tons, it's a very slow procedure. You've got to basically go into the maintenance routine, open valves and start pumps. And it took about 30 minutes to pump that it required 2.4 tons, plus the time that this bloke had spent messing about before I managed to get going there. We're at 40 minutes laid off stand, and I'm twiddling my thumbs going, I don't believe this is happening. This is actually quite a simple procedure if you know what you're doing. Unfortunately, it's not something the pilots do. It's something the engineers do. So they're very annoying. Yeah. I don't mind people having a go at things, but if they tell me that they're not sure, then I will say, okay, that's fine. It's not working. Let's stop and get someone up here who knows exactly what they're doing. There appears to be only one bloke at the Tower of Atlanta who knows what he's doing. Well, there you go.
There are probably more than just one.
I think there are. I mean, you've got 330s in there, and you guys in Acme have got 330s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you must have.
You'd think, yes,
yeah, sure you have. There must be some. There must be a reasonable number of people who know what they're doing.
I guess maybe a
there you
small
go.
number. I don't know.
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, I need to take a physiological break. Do you want me to just leave and let you converse with the chat room, or do you want to go ahead and just end the show?
Well, I've got, it's gone 9 here, and the lady wife has got a favorite program. I said I'd probably be available to watch it with.
Okay, then I think you should go. Absolutely. And
There
I
you
need to
go.
go, like literally need to go. So
Okay.
thanks everyone for hanging out with us again. I know it was a short visit with you all, but I do appreciate it for taking the time. And let's see. So somebody in the chat room, when's the next PTUK? Is that going to be tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday? They're changing it up a lot. So just wondering if anybody knows. Yes, a Delta P for sure, Daniel.
Nice one, Daniel.
Yeah. There's such a lag here. See you, Mike, Nev, Dan,
Yeah, but
Ray, Short, Glenn, yep. Pip.
tomorrow
Pip
evening,
was there.
says Pip.
Tomorrow evening. Okay. Excellent. Okay.
He was
everyone.
rude to me. He accused me of being under the influence of alcohol when I did my last crew log.
Oh no, he's
Very
talking
rude.
about the last crude log.
Okay. No,
That's a
I was
private
actually out there. Yeah, exactly right. I was actually out there with bombs going off, gunfire, and air raid warnings. And I thought, what a great moment to do a crew log. This is sound great.
That was really good. I thought maybe you had somehow mixed all that stuff in. I'm thinking, well, this is really good.
No, that
sounds
was
really
all around me.
realistic. The air raid siren going off and everything else. I thought, what is he doing?
Yeah. What's going on?
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing off. So I'm going to get something to eat.
Yep.
And try to get a good night's sleep. I'll start editing the audio. I'm doing that a lot lately. I'm combining words, putting words together. Audio, editing, auditing. Yeah, okay. Anyway. So
you're just taking after many famous presidents.
Okay. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Hey, that's my line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cheers, Jeff. All the best.
See you later.
See you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile.